Older women, they are so mad that men don't want them. And that's why they shame men for dating younger women, and we're PDF files because we don't want them and we're not good enough to date women of our own age because women of our own age are just so wonderful because they got ran through and did not settle down and now they're looking for chads, right? It's all men's fault for not wanting to date 50-year-olds. Dan goes over a wonderful video.
Question for the men, because I'm starting to wonder, are there any men left in this entire universe that like women in their 50s?
Who has ever said women in their 50s?
With a natural body?
Well, darling, I'm more than happy to answer your question, but as I always do, I'm going to preference this by saying my response is not going to be sugarcoating things. I'm going to be honest with you, brutally honest with you.
Damn right.
Or as I like to put it, I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Okay? So if you actually want to hear the truth, hear how men think, and hear their answer, and maybe, just maybe, be able to find someone, then keep listening. Or if you're like most women who don't want to or can't handle the truth, then scroll on by.
Most women can't. Really the you can't handle the truth. It's really aimed at women. That saying is really truly aimed at women. Yes, there's some men that can't take the truth, I'm sure. But women just can't take accountability. That's what the truth is.
Just keep doing what you're doing and wondering why you're alone and will be for the rest of your lives. Okay, so for those of you still here, let's get into it. First off, of course there are men who like women in their 50s. And the truth
if they're in their 60s.
of the matter is, most of them actually prefer women with natural bodies.
True.
Men, for the most part, are turned off by that Botoxed, siliconed, overly made up look that women think makes them attractive. Yes, there are exceptions, but just because a few do like that doesn't mean they all do.
Remember, that's like this, Dan, they always seem to exaggerate all the features. If they just kind of did all those things to maintain a very youthful look and not have outrageous features, I think most men can't really say much, right? Yeah, you might have done something, but you still look normal. You just look a little bit more youthful than you would at your age because you got some things tightened or whatever.
Let's face it, as you get older, it becomes pretty obvious when you've had, let's call them certain enhancements.
Sure.
And then they're sticking out like a sore thumb, if you catch my drift.
That's what I said, when they just always go to the outrageousness of, boom and boom on the backside.
And while you think that's what men want, because that's what your girlies, not to mention the plastic surgeon, told you they want.
True.
In reality, it just turns men off. But that's not even the real problem. You see, the real problem, the answer to your question that you don't want to hear, is that it's more about your attitude than appearance that turns men off.
True.
You see, the men who like women in their 50s,
Like, we already like you to talk to you because you look good. Then you speak, and then we get turned off, and then we stop talking to you and walk away.
the ones who would want to date or be in relationships with women in their 50s, aren't the ones you're looking to date.
Nope.
Let alone be in a relationship with. And you make it blatantly obvious that that is the case. Hell, many of you come right out and say it, that you won't even consider a man who doesn't meet your, as y'all like to put it, higher standards. You know, the 6 feet tall with six-pack abs and six-figure income that...
I really don't get how you get older into your 50s and your higher standards are just justified because you got older.
You've all decided somehow a man must be possessed to be worthy. All, of course, while refusing to acknowledge that most of you don't even come close to meeting those criteria yourself.
Correct.
It speaks to the mindset that men see all the time in women, but especially in older women. This expectation that they get to have those so-called higher standards, while those men aren't allowed to have any standards at all. And that mindset is rampant in older women, more so, I'd argue, than it is in the younger ones. And here's another little tidbit you aren't going to like. With age is supposed to come wisdom. But when
Supposed
it
to.
comes to valuing who you are right now and where you're at, that simply doesn't apply to today's modern women. Really, not at any age, but most especially for those in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and up.
I'm 40. Well, I'll be 40 this year now. So my age demographic is all the 40-year-old women. It's like 35 to, whatever it is. I don't mess with them. I've only been dating like 20-year-olds lately just because it's easier. It's just so much more convenient. They're less baggage. They're less standards are too high.
You see, most of you are still stuck in your early 20s mindset, where you could have any man you wanted. You still think you're all that you are the table, and all you need to do is offer this. Hell, trying to maintain that mindset is one of the reasons why many older women get those aforementioned enhancements. But I'm sorry to say, ladies, you're not. In fact, you're not even close. Just like the men in your age group aren't like they were in their 20s. Y'all love to attack men whose hair is thinning or gone, who may have put on a few
It's okay, Dan. We still love you.
pounds, or who may not be the bronzed Adonises that they were in their 20s. And you do that apparently without looking at yourselves in the mirror.
Correct.
Because if you did, the reality is you'd come to the realization that no amount of makeup, no amount of hair dye to cover your gray hair, or any of those other things that you do is going to make even the slightest bit of difference. Even more hilarious.
I mean, at 50? Really? You really think you're going to be able to change a lot of things to attract the men you want at 50?
Is how upset you get when men point out to you that you've aged, while at the same time making great sport of attacking men all the time because they've aged. Something that all of us as human beings inevitably do. Sorry, ladies, you don't get to have it both ways. Yet most of you think you do. Worse is that you have no idea, even after 50 plus years on this planet, of what it is that men want in a relationship. Especially
That is so true. After 50 years, you're still clueless of how the world works and how men work.
older men. You don't even have the slightest clue, as you prove time and again when you list all the qualities that you think make you a catch. You know, things like you have a great career or job title, or how you own your own home or have X amount of dollars in the bank. Sorry, ladies, that doesn't make you a catch. It makes you an adult.
I mean, that X amount of dollars in the bank, is it $1 million? And do I get to spend it?
There's nothing special about that. Not now, not ever. And that's especially true when it comes to men. Because what men in your age group want is security. And no, I'm not talking about financial security, which, as your list shows, is what women want. No, what men want is a true partner, someone who cares for them, not based on how much money they have or make, not based on their house or the car they drive, not based on how big their 401k balance is. Let me be clear here, ladies, none of that matters to men at any age, but most especially as they get older. Men want the security of knowing that you're going to love them for who they are, not what they have. That you're going to stand by them no matter what. That you're not going to walk away and try and take whatever it is they do have because you're bored or he isn't meeting whatever higher standards you've suddenly decided he needs to meet. Most of the single men in that age group have been through a divorce, maybe even two, and lost
One.
everything. And they for damn sure aren't going to take that risk again. And as an older man, he needs to know that you're going to show him respect, acknowledgement, and appreciation. Most of all, he needs to know you're going to bring peace to his life, not a bunch of never-ending drama and risk, which is in
But that's most women. It's just drama. It's so hard to deal with any woman, even if she's a good woman, and not have drama. Drama is just surrounds women.
fact what most of you bring. And the truth of the matter is, all of that applies not just to older men, but men of any age. And the other truth of the matter is that most women don't even come close to doing any of those things. And again, that applies to women of any age, but even more so as they get into their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Here's the
Like, it's so sad to see women coming online making videos in their 60s about where are all the good men and where is my man and all this. That is sad. Sad, sad, sad.
thing, ladies. Men know that single women of that age group largely are alone because they've decided they could do better. They didn't stick by their man. They didn't stick by the commitment they made to him. They most likely walked away from a marriage and did everything they could to hurt the man they claimed to have loved at one time. Hell, how many of you run around bragging about taking him to the cleaners in
Correct.
the divorce? And for some reason, you seem to think that men don't know that. Worse, you seem to think that
Again, they always forget we have like Jay-Z's internet also.
they don't know that if you did that before, the odds are you're likely to do it again and again and again. The reality is you've shown to men that your word isn't worth that much. That commitment isn't a value that you, well, value. That instead of looking at the many positives in a man, you'll laser focus on the few negatives and toss him aside based on them. Toss him aside because he wasn't perfect. Wasn't that 9 or 10 Disney prince who treats you like a goddess.
Who the hell is? Like, none of us are this 9 out of 10 Disney prince. We're not Prince Charmings. We're probably Shreks. A lot of us are Shreks.
Which is what you all think you deserve because in your minds, you were or are the epitome of the perfect wife, that perfect Disney princess. Sorry, ladies, but men see the reality of life, and it isn't what it's portrayed as in those Hallmark and Disney movies y'all so love. And I know y'all are upset hearing this, and many of you are losing it right now. I mean, how dare I have the audacity to say things like this?
Is that true?
I can hear y'all screaming now. It's not true. It was all his fault, not mine. I left
Narcissist.
because it was justified. He was just a loser who couldn't keep up. Blah, blah, blah. Darling, I hate to break it to you, but you all say things like that. So
You forgot the narcissist one. That's literally the number one thing they say constantly.
much so that men see it for what it is, which is that you're having a pity party and trying to justify your lack of commitment. You are a 10 and thus deserve a 10. It doesn't work that way, ladies. Never has and never will. And it's why men of all ages are walking away, but even more so in the older age groups.
Yep,
Men, especially old.
it's true. A lot of my friends, which are all within their 40s now, George is 40, and then Chris is 39, I'm 39. Everybody around us is around the 40s within our age range. Yeah. Chris obviously got married. George probably doesn't even care about it, doesn't even date. A lot of the guys I know don't date in my age range. I'm the only one that's out there dating, but yeah, men in older ages just don't see the juice is worth the squeeze, right? We've gone through enough. It's the problem. And even the younger generation hasn't even gone through any of it, but they see us and listen to us very carefully now. They're like, yeah, we don't want to be like you guys. I'm like, which is a good thing. Good thing.
Older men have seen that while you all expect the world, you're offering nothing in return. Hell, you're not even willing to consider offering anything because to do so means it somehow makes you a bad woman. It's the reason why y'all hate women in happy, healthy relationships, calling them pick-me's and putting them down as weak or unwomanly. While it may make you feel strong and independent to do that, in reality, it just shows men who you really are.
And then it really shows who's actually winning. These women have people that love them, kids that love them, men that help take care of them. What do you have? What? Money? Maybe? Because you really don't, because there's a lot of women that are broke and homeless.
And how you think. Because if you're doing that to a woman in good relationships, putting them down, hurling insults at them, belittling them, how could you ever know what it's like to be in an actual happy, healthy relationship and then actually be in one? The truth of the matter is you can't, which is why you cannot find good men and why you're wondering, where did they all go? Why don't they want me? Worst of all for you is that Contrary to what you're all telling yourselves, men have found that they're happier, healthier, and living the good life after walking away. They're not huddling in a corner like you're all telling yourselves they are, having meltdowns.
I mean, we're huddling, talking about sports and other things and war and, guy stuff.
Because women don't want them. It's mind-boggling how you think going around bragging about that somehow would be a good thing, if it were, in fact, true.
It's so, Dad is on it, right? Like, why are they online bragging about how they have scammed men or used men and abused men and how they treat men, how much they hate men? You tell it on yourselves.
As I said in the beginning, there are men out there looking for relationships with women over 50. But you won't consider them, won't even give them the time of day because they, like all but a very, very, very select few, can't possibly live up to your insane demands and expectations.
Who can?
Your so-called higher standards, which are beyond absurd. Hell, very few people can meet them. And oh, by the way, those very few that can, they're not going to be the least bit interested in some 50-year-old bitter divorcee when they can have their pick of the younger women.
True.
I know you don't like hearing that, but that is the reality. Sorry, ladies. As I said, I'm telling you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And if you ever want to have hope of finding love, of finding a man to be in a relationship with, you'll listen to what I just said and have an honest, open conversation with yourself about who you really are and what you have to offer men. What you have to offer that men actually want. Not what you've decided they should want.
Outside of coochie, obviously we want coochie, but there's other things that are very important other than that.
But I already know that for most women, that's never going to happen, which is why they'll continue to make videos like this, asking, does any man in the entire universe actually want a 50-year-old woman?
Just think about that question, like a 50-year-old woman. That would have hardly ever been asked years prior because 50-year-old women were most likely married and had kids. There were very few spinsters or leftover women or, orange at the bottom of the basket type women. Nowadays, it is the mass of women. It's crazy. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. I really appreciate that. And catch you guys next time. Ciao.